Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to your Weather Impact Show. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley live with you here. It's a Tuesday evening, and you know, we're only about a week away from Thanksgiving. And at this point in the month of November, well, people start to think about snow. It might not feel like it the next couple of days, but winter is on the way. And December always is what us meteorologists consider to be the start of the wintertime season. So without further ado, we did dig into a lot of data here and kind of worked the numbers to see what we could be cooking up this year. Let's go and show you our winter weather forecast. It's that time, winter almost upon us, and we're looking into our crystal ball, but with knowledge as well as to what this year could bring. First off, let's think about last winter. You might not recall what we went through. There were a couple things that stood out from last winter. Number one, we finally broke our snowfall drought. It was more than 1,000 days, and we only got about 5 inches spaced out over a couple of events, but hey, it was something. We also had our coolest winter in a couple of years. It was more than a degree cooler than average. We were also a little drier than average. So let's get to talking about this year, and it always tends to start by looking at the oceans. Ocean temperatures near the equator in the Pacific Ocean are really important. They can influence the weather pattern all around the globe, including right here in the Carolinas. When this is cooler than average water near the equator, we call it a La Niña. We were in one last winter. It looks like we're in one again for this winter. Now, it's a weaker La Niña than you can have sometimes, which means the effects of it are a little bit more muted and can give us more muddy results than in a stronger La Niña. In a typical La Niña winter, the jet stream tends to be a little farther north than it would otherwise. That means fewer storms coming into the Carolinas. Also, Arctic air can sometimes be cooped up a little bit more than usual. The effects look like this. Tends to be drier than usual weather in the Carolinas. Also tends to be pretty close to average for temperatures or even slightly warmer. In weak La Niña winters, there tends to be some pattern. And in this case, December tends to start off with a bit of a bang. I'm talking about colder and a little bit more stormy than usual, which sometimes mean you can get December snowfall. As we go throughout the winter, though, the effects tend to wane down, and by February, things tend to be a little bit milder and a little bit drier. It's always difficult to kind of see a snowfall trend with a lot of our climate patterns in the Carolinas because we get it so infrequently. If we look at weak La Niña winters throughout our history, well, last year was one. We got about 5 inches, but others, half were above average, the other half below average. That means average snowfall, that's pretty much in line for a weak La Niña. It's not just La Niña we look at to make a winter forecast. There are other factors at play. One of them is snowfall. Way on the other side of the globe, up here in Russia, Siberian snowfall, when it's above average, like it is right now, that can mean more cold air available to cross the poles and go into the United States at times. Also, something we always have to consider is climate change. In a warmer climate, it's harder to get that cold air more frequently. And we have seen a trend in the last couple of decades of winter warming right here in the Piedmont. These all go into our forecast. All right, so how about a forecast here? We'll go row by row. In this case, I actually think this winter should be a little bit cooler than average because we'll have more frequent outbreaks of colder air down the East Coast, especially early in the season. Also, a little bit drier than average. It is still a La Niña winter after all. However, considering those more frequent colder outbreaks in December and January, I think we'll be able to cash in on near average snowfall, which for our area is about 7 to 8 inches. As we go into the winter season, make sure to keep an eye on the News 2 forecast. We'll be keeping you up to speed on whenever winter events start to creep up. Be ready, it could be an early start this year. So there you have it. And whenever we're talking about a seasonal forecast, it's kind of important to know that we're just talking about generalities. Those are the broad brush ideas as we go over the next couple of months. I always like to look back to history, though, and you probably do too if you're watching our weather program daily. I find this interesting all the time. You know, since we've been keeping weather records around Greensboro all the way back to 1903, we've had about 967 inches of snowfall. In that time, our annual amount is about 7 to 8 inches, give or take. Now, you can break this down even further, kind of going month to month, and that's always interesting to see as well. Notice the month of December, historically, we only have about 14% of our all-time snowfall. Here we are in November, we've only had 16 inches all time. That's just 2%. The snowiest month is January. A lot of times people tell me it's March. Really, January has the much more common snowfall. But you're right, we have had some big ones in the month of March. It's a snowier month for us than December, even though it's a warmer month. Those two things can be true in the Carolinas. February accounts for about a third of our snowfall as well. So if you break it all down, a lot of times once we get past Christmas, people start to panic if we haven't had snowfall, but over half of our snow actually falls after the month of January is all over with. So don't despair if it takes a little while. Although this year, like I said in the forecast, could get off to a bit of an early start. December tends to be a bit active. Here's a year where December was very active for us. One of the first days of the month of winter, or the month of December is what I meant to say. 2018, you remember this one. It's what I call the last big one. And it really was the last big one for our area. But it matters where you live, and this is important to keep in mind. Anyone who's watching this right now, maybe you live in our southernmost counties. Maybe you live toward the Virginia border. That makes a big difference with winter weather. We're always talking about being on the razor's edge of freezing, whether you're at the surface level, above ground, or all of these things. So that plays a big role in who gets what. In this case, in that last storm that we got that was a really big one, the 12-inch line was right here. Everyone to the north and west of it got over 12 inches of snow, but if you were in southern Randolph County, you only got about 2 to 4 inches. Why is that? Well, sleet can mix in very easily, rain can too, and these are all factors that come into play once we actually get a storm system to track, and I would expect that'll still be a little ways away. Quick update on your local forecast as we go into this evening. We are expecting a couple of scattered showers, mostly overnight tonight. They're not going to amount to all that much, but there is that opportunity to catch a couple of these between midnight and 5 a.m. And looking ahead toward tomorrow, well, I'd expect it to be a pretty nice day overall. We'll have a little cloud cover to start tomorrow morning, and then cooler weather. That's kind of lingering to the north tomorrow. It's actually a warmer day than we were for today, but going into Thursday, that's when the chill should start to take over. There's your 7-day forecast. We look ahead, a warm day tomorrow, a cooler day for Thursday. The next best chance for some rainfall, that's going to be coming up on your Saturday. I would expect that we have some of that mostly for Saturday morning, tapering off toward the afternoon. Stick around, we've got about 20 more minutes of winter weather content for you with Brad Panovich after this.